The documentaries, fictional stories, and poems on this channel contain mature themes including psychological horror, violence, death, self-harm, mental health crises, and other disturbing subject matter. If you're sensitive to dark content, this may not be for you. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Welcome, my mysterious friend. I am the Howlerist. Tonight, I bring you a tale from a strange, mist-shrouded town where newcomers seek refuge, but ancient evils never sleep. Here, kindness wears a familiar face, and darkness feeds on the innocent. If this story chills your blood, why not join the pack? Subscribe and leave your mark below in the comments. But for now, settle in and feel the cold, moist air surround you. Marshwood, Chapter 1. The Arrival. Annabelle clung tightly to her sewing machine as the bus slowly weaved through the mist-shrouded streets of Marshwood. This simple, cherished possession symbolized not only her craft, but also her means of livelihood. Her talent, honed in the bustling streets of Tel Aviv, held the promise of integrating her and her daughter into the fabric of this strange new community. As the bus finally pulled over, Annabelle and her daughter Hannah patiently waited as the other passengers pushed and bustled to disembark before they stood to gather their belongings. 14-year-old Hannah, with ice-blue eyes and a grace beyond her years, was intelligent and musical. She had studied piano since she was 5, and her delicate fingers yearned to dance across the keys as her chosen career path someday. The Weiss family sought solace and protection in these quiet streets. Over the coming days, the search for a house led them to a quaint cottage on the outskirts of town, where mist clung to ancient trees and the air hummed with an unspoken history. It was here that they first encountered Ezra, a seemingly kind and helpful figure who appeared out of thin air. Ezra introduced himself as a local who knew the ins and outs of Marshwood, offering assistance with a warmth that bordered on over-enthusiastic. His manner was friendly and welcoming. "It's not every day we see new faces in Marshwood," he said quietly. "You've picked a rather interesting time to arrive, I must say. But don't you worry, you'll find your way around just fine." For young Hannah, Marshwood High School is a fine choice, and it also has an exceptional music program. "I know you will both like it here. Oh, it has its secrets, of course, as any place does, but secrets are what give a town character, don't you think?" Ezra grinned, his eyes twinkling with an unsettling, almost knowing glint. The next Monday at Marshwood High School, the bell echoed through the hallways, signaling the beginning of a new chapter in Hannah's life. Dressed in a blouse crafted by her mother, she nervously entered the classroom. The students' curious glances intensified the feeling of being an outsider. The teacher, Mrs. Turner, welcomed Hannah to the class. "Class, we have a new student today. Please introduce yourself, my dear." Hannah, feeling the weight of the room's gaze, cleared her throat. "Hi, I'm Hannah Weiss. My mom and I just moved here from Tel Aviv." As she spoke, her Israeli pronunciation caught the attention of a few classmates. Stifled giggles rippled through the room, and Hannah's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "Anything interesting about yourself, Hannah?" Mrs. Turner prompted, hoping to help settle her into the classroom. Hannah hesitated for a moment before a determined spark lit up her eyes. "I love playing the piano. It's like telling stories with music." Even more laughter erupted, but Hannah stood her ground, determined not to let the ridicule dim her passion. The snickers gradually subsided, leaving an awkward silence in their wake. Megan, seated at the back of the room, observed the scene with empathy. She felt an immediate connection with this newcomer, a kindred spirit whose love for music mirrored her own. Megan was a violinist, and while other teenagers were preoccupied with more trivial pursuits, she devoted countless hours to practicing and perfecting her musical skills. As Hannah moved to find her seat, Megan welcomed her with a warm smile, offering a comforting gesture in that tense moment. As the class continued, the memory of that brief yet friendly interaction lingered. Over time, the two girls discovered themselves spending hours after school, delving into the harmonies that emerged when their instruments joined forces. Meanwhile, Annabelle threw herself into establishing her sewing business, and it wasn't long before the townsfolk warmed to her beautiful creations. Elegant gowns and finely tailored clothing became a testament to her skill, and soon Marshwood found itself captivated by the allure of garments that bore the mark of a newcomer's artistry. As Annabelle's business blossomed, so did the friendship between Hannah and Megan. The trio, the pianist, the violinist, and the seamstress, forged an unexpected bond that intertwined with the very fabric of Marshwood. The mist which once enshrouded the town seemed less oppressive in the face of their shared laughter and melodies that reverberated through the cottage and school hallways. Chapter 2. The Visitor. As the months passed in Marshwood, the school was deeply engrossed in preparations for its annual concert. Hannah and Megan found themselves working tirelessly on a performance that would showcase their musical connection. Ezra, ever present and seemingly helpful, offered his assistance to the Weiss family wherever possible. He consistently volunteered to drive Annabelle to fitting appointments and Hannah to school and music lessons. His constant presence became a fixture in their lives, a reassuring figure navigating the day-to-day in Marshwood. One afternoon, with Annabelle at a bridal party fitting appointment, Ezra decided to make an unexpected visit to the cottage. He knocked on the door, a smile playing on his lips as he anticipated another opportunity to extend his helpful hand. To his surprise, the door swung open to reveal Megan and Hannah, immersed in the world of sheet music and instruments. "Ah, hello there," Ezra greeted, his smile unwavering. "I didn't expect anyone but Annabelle to be home. You two look very busy. What are you up to?" Megan, a subtle wariness in her eyes, responded, "We're practicing for the school concert. Our performance is coming along, and we wanted to use the space." Ezra's gaze shifted between the two girls, his helpful demeanor momentarily faltering. "Ah, of course. I didn't realize you were involved in the concert preparations. How wonderful." As he spoke, he invited himself inside, closing the door quietly behind him. "I would love to hear what you've been working on for your performance. Could you play for me, Hannah?" His tone was gentle, albeit slightly unnerving, but the girls resumed their musical poses and began to play for him. Throughout the afternoon, Ezra lingered, offering suggestions and insights into their performance. His presence, initially welcomed, cast a subtle shadow over the cottage, a shadow that Megan couldn't shake. As the sun began to set, Ezra finally stood to bid them farewell. "I do thank you for letting me hear you play, Hannah. I enjoyed it very much, I must say. Please tell your mother hello for me, won't you?" His smile seemed forced and just a little twisted. As he closed the door behind him, Megan and Hannah exchanged a glance laden with unspoken questions. The encounter had left an imprint, like a haunting refrain that echoed in the depths of their thoughts. When Annabelle returned home that evening, the flickering candlelight danced in her eyes as she listened to the tales of the afternoon. However, as Hannah and Megan mentioned Ezra's unexpected visit, a subtle uneasiness crept into the room. Annabelle, perceptive to the shifting energies, felt a chill in the air, a discordant note in the melody of their new life in Marshwood. She was deeply unsettled by this development and knew that she had to establish some boundaries to ensure her daughter's safety, just in case Ezra had misconstrued their relationship. With the concert scheduled for tomorrow, Annabelle decided that there would be ample opportunity during the evening to clarify everything with him. Chapter 3: A Melodic Night. The school concert progressed beautifully, showcasing a diverse array of talents from the students of Marshwood High. From soulful singers to nimble dancers, the auditorium echoed with the vibrancy of youth. The performances varied in style and skill, each act contributing its unique flavor to the evening. During the intermission, the audience mingled, sharing their excitement, praise, and compliments. Annabelle took the opportunity to approach Ezra discreetly, a quiet corner, providing a moment of respite amid the lively chatter. "Ezra," she began, her voice soft but determined, "I appreciate your assistance and kindness, but I think it might be best if you avoid dropping by the cottage when I'm not there." She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "The neighbors may get the wrong impression, and I'd like to keep things appropriate. I hope you understand." Ezra's smile remained fixed, though something flickered behind his eyes. "Of course, Annabelle. I only wish to help, and Hannah is such a fine young girl. I have come to enjoy both of your company, but I will respect your wishes." He paused, his gaze lingering a moment too long. "If there's anything you need, just ask, won't you?" Annabelle nodded awkwardly, then rejoined the audience just in time for the final act, Hannah and Megan's performance. The anticipation swirled as the girls, clad in elegant dresses designed by Annabelle, waited patiently backstage for their introduction. As the girls took their places, the auditorium fell into a hushed reverence. Then they began to play. Hannah's fingers danced across the piano keys, and Megan's violin responded with a haunting melody. The performance, a symphony of emotion and skill, cast a spell that warmed the hearts of those who had been hesitant to embrace the Weiss family. The veil that had shrouded Hannah lifted, revealing the beauty of her music. The audience, captivated by the harmonies that unfolded, became entwined in a moment of collective awe. As the final notes lingered in the air, the applause swelled, washing away the lingering shadows. Backstage, the girls exchanged a triumphant glance. The warmth radiating from the audience suggested that the town's attitude toward the Weiss family was one of complete acceptance. As the auditorium emptied, some of the students approached Hannah with admiration, expressing how amazing the performance had been. Their praise, genuine and heartfelt, marked a turning point for Hannah. The recognition from her peers began to chip away at the walls of insecurity that had surrounded her since arriving in Marshwood. Chapter 4, Vanish. Weeks unfolded in Marshwood, presenting an illusion of normalcy. Annabelle's sewing business flourished, and her talent caught the eye of the school administration, who sought her assistance in crafting costumes for upcoming events. Despite the initial unease, the boundary Annabelle set for Ezra seemed to hold. He lingered at a distance, his presence more subtle and respectful. The town, steeped in its own traditions and secrets, continued its quiet rhythms. Hannah and Megan, now inseparable, continued to refine their musical connection. The once isolated teenager was now surrounded by love, friendship, and laughter, as well as a newfound sense of belonging. One crisp autumn afternoon, as the school bell chimed the end of the day, Hannah bid farewell to Megan and boarded the bus. But the routine journey home, once a familiar ride through the streets, took an ominous turn. The bus wound its way through the town to reach Hannah's stop, then departed. As it drove off, a local resident driving past caught sight of Hannah walking up the hill towards her house. The mist gathered thick that evening. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the town, and the whispers of autumn leaves carried echoes of a tale yet untold. It was on this seemingly ordinary day, amidst the backdrop of fading daylight and encroaching shadows, that Hannah Weiss went missing. The increasingly popular teenager's sudden disappearance cast a chilling silence over Marshwood. The mist, once a familiar backdrop, now seemed to thicken with uncertainty. The town's collective breath held as the news of Hannah's absence spread like wildfire. The police scoured the streets and questioned numerous witnesses, seemingly to no avail. As the hours turned to days, the mystery continued to deepen, with no trace of Hannah. Annabelle, once a pillar of strength, felt the weight of the town's gaze. Whispers circulated, hinting at suspicion and fear. Some wondered if the family's recent integration into the town had been too swift, too seamless. As the investigation unfolded, fingers began to point, and the veil of trust that had begun to settle over the Weiss family threatened to tear. Annabelle, grappling with the unknown fate of her daughter, retreated into a quiet desperation. Sleepless nights were spent at her sewing machine, though her hands shook and her stitches became uneven. Her once prized creations now bore the scars of frayed nerves. She began muttering to herself whilst she worked, conversations with someone who wasn't there. Her eyes, once bright with determination, now reflected haunting shadows. When Megan visited, Annabelle would sometimes stop mid-sentence, staring at empty corners of the room, as if listening to voices only she could hear. As the police continued their inquiries, the town's suspicions turned towards Hannah's own mother. The familiar faces that had welcomed her now regarded her with wary eyes. Annabelle's behavior took a turn for the strange. She spoke in riddles, her words tangled and confused. The weight of accusation settled on her shoulders, and the once welcoming community was now filled with uncertainty. In the days that followed, Ezra inserted himself into the search for Hannah. Concern etched across his face. He became a constant presence in the community's efforts to find the missing girl. Whether aiding in search parties, providing information to the police, or comforting distraught neighbors, Ezra's involvement was both noticeable and appreciated. His proactive participation in the search endeared him to the community. Together, the town rallied in unity to reveal a shared purpose: the quest to bring Hannah Weiss back home. Amidst the uncertainty, Megan, a steadfast friend, stood by Annabelle's side, offering solace in shared sorrow. All the while, Megan could see how Annabelle was slowly losing not only all hope of finding her only daughter, but also her grip on reality. In her sadness, she drifted further and further away into a desperate world of darkness, anger, and desolation. Chapter 5. Whispers. The local resident who had witnessed Hannah's last steps up the hill became a troubled figure in the unfolding mystery. The initial account, given to the police with a sense of urgency, seemed straightforward. A fleeting glimpse, the silhouette of a girl disappearing into the gathering mist. However, as time wore on, the story began to warp. When police returned for follow-up questions, the witness grew uncertain. Details blurred and shifted. Had Hannah been alone? The witness's brow would furrow, confusion clouding their features. I thought there might have been someone else, a figure, or was it just the mist? They would shake their head, frustrated. Maybe there was a car. I can't quite remember. Each time they were questioned, the account changed, as if the very memory was being rewritten, the truth slipping away like water through fingers. At Annabelle's house, where once the rhythmic hum of the sewing machine and the notes of Hannah's piano had filled the air, an eerie quiet descended. Shadows seemed to move in the corners when no one was looking. Objects appeared in different places than where they'd been left. Whispers, like the rustle of leaves in the wind, echoed through the empty rooms. Megan, visiting Annabelle in this unsettling time, felt the palpable tension that clung to the walls. Annabelle now appeared fragile, her eyes haunted by the shadows that seemed to encircle her. The strange happenings intensified in Megan's presence, unseen hands brushing against her skin. The distant sound of echoing footsteps and fleeting glimpses of figures that vanished when she turned to look. As the search for Hannah continued, the town's suspicions towards Annabelle deepened. In the dimly lit rooms of her home, she conversed with unseen entities, her laughter echoing through the halls in disjointed cadences. Megan, once a close friend, now hesitated at the threshold of Annabelle's unraveling reality. Ezra, the helpful neighbor turned active participant in the search, found himself caught in the web of uncertainty. The witness, their story now a mosaic of conflicting details, had mentioned something about a man, though the description was vague, and shifted with each telling. Some thought it bore a subtle resemblance to Ezra, though nothing concrete enough to warrant suspicion. Annabelle now stitched together fragments of reality and illusion in a tapestry of madness. In the heart of the mystery, where the disappearance of Hannah and Annabelle's descent into madness converged, a sense of foreboding grew. Chapter 6. Ancient and Dark. Megan's days in Marshwood took a surreal turn as the town grappled with Hannah's disappearance. One gloomy afternoon, Megan spotted Annabelle in the cemetery, whispering to the wind-torn leaves as if seeking solace from the grave. The cemetery, once a place of quiet reflection, now bore witness to Annabelle's strange rituals. Megan's breath caught in her throat as she watched Annabelle trace patterns in the air, her words lost to the whispering wind. On another evening, curiosity mingled with trepidation. Megan approached the Weiss residence. From the outside, the house seemed a mere silhouette against the darkening sky. However, As she neared the attic window, a faint glow revealed an ongoing ritual within. Annabelle, bathed in ghostly light, conducted a symphony of whispered secrets, her eyes reflecting a connection to a world beyond. The attic, with its flickering candles and the haunting hum of an ancient incantation, became a spectral stage for a performance Megan was never meant to witness. She stumbled upon Annabelle's eerie communion with forces beyond comprehension. A dance with the shadows that left Megan questioning the thin veil separating the living from the unknown. In the soft glow of twilight, Annabelle spoke of ancient pacts and the ethereal dance between realms, her words a disconcerting cadence that echoed through the corridors of Megan's mind. Then came the storm, with rain lashing against the windows and thunder rumbling through the darkened sky. It was that terrifying night that Annabelle, a spectral figure in the storm, appeared at Megan's window. Her eyes gleamed with an unnatural luminosity, and the words she spoke were a desperate plea for belief, begging Megan to understand. Annabelle spoke of an evil force responsible for Hannah's disappearance. "Megan, you must believe me. Everything is not as it seems. There's something else, something ancient and dark. I didn't make Hannah disappear. I'm trying to stop whatever force took her." Megan's heart pounded in her chest. It seemed that Annabelle's descent into grief-stricken insanity was finally complete. That poor woman. "Please, Megan. There is something dreadfully wrong. How could she just disappear with no sign? Someone must have seen something, know something. The spirits are telling me that there is a darkness, a powerful darkness that at first seems friendly. But it's pure evil, Megan. Evil." Annabelle was almost screaming now. "I have to find it. I need your help. But I must do what I can to stop this from happening again. It's not the first time, Megan. I promise you, it has done this before. We must stop it. Together we are stronger. Please, Megan. Help me. Help me." The storm outside mirrored the tempest within, and as Annabelle retreated into the shadows, Megan found herself standing at the crossroads, caught between the fading echoes of normalcy and the encroaching darkness that threatened to consume Marshwood whole. Chapter 7. Echoes of the Past. Megan couldn't shake the haunting words Annabelle had uttered amidst the storm. The plea for help, the mention of an ancient evil, they echoed in her mind like a ghostly refrain. Determined to uncover the truth, Megan turned to the town's history, seeking answers buried in the dust-covered archives of Marshwood's library. As she delved into the records, a pattern emerged. Disappearances, each shrouded in a peculiar aura of mystery, sporadically punctuated the town's history. A chilling revelation gripped Megan's senses. The town harbored secrets, something lurking in the shadows. Each disappearance was a chapter in a sinister tale that refused to fade. A young boy who vanished into the marshes and was never seen again. A girl who ventured into the nearby woods and disappeared without a trace. A family that abruptly abandoned their home, leaving everything behind, as if fleeing some unseen terror. But it was another discovery that made Megan's blood run cold. In the yellowed newspaper clippings from decades past, she found references to a helpful local man named Ezra, who had assisted police with their inquiries into one of the disappearances, a case from 1962. The dates didn't make sense. If it was the same Ezra, he would have to be impossibly old. Her hands trembling, Megan continued searching through the archives. Then she found it, tucked into an old file about Marshwood High School's history. A photograph from 1965 showing staff and volunteers at a school fundraiser. And there, among the faces, was Ezra. The same Ezra, not younger, not older. Exactly the same. But buried deeper in the archives, Megan found something else, something that might help them. An ancient leather-bound journal, its pages brittle with age, detailing protective rituals and binding spells used by the town's founders. The faded ink spoke of entities that fed on the vulnerable, of darkness that wore familiar faces, and of the ways to trap and banish such forces. Megan carefully copied down the ritual, her heart racing as she realized what Annabelle had been trying to tell her. With newfound knowledge clutched in her hands, Megan knew what she must do. The weight of history bore down on her as she headed towards the library foyer and out into the street. Suddenly, a voice shattered her thoughts with an intrusive jolt. "Megan, my dear, what brings you to the archives of our little town?" Startled, Megan turned to find Ezra, his presence an unexpected interruption into her clandestine investigation. They stood just outside the front of the library building, the air thick with a mysterious atmosphere. "Oh, just some research," Megan replied, trying to sound casual whilst clutching the copied pages against her chest. "I was curious about the town's history." Ezra's smile widened, revealing a hint of darkness beneath. "Curiosity can be a dangerous thing, my dear. Some stories are better left undisturbed, and some knowledge can cast shadows where light once prevailed." Megan felt a chill run down her spine, but she stood her ground. "I'm just trying to understand, that's all." Ezra's gaze lingered for a moment before he spoke, his tone a blend of charm and veiled warning. "Marshwood conceals its secrets, my dear. Some are meant to be discovered, and some are destined to remain buried. Be cautious in your pursuit of truth, won't you?" Ezra tipped his hat, then strolled away, leaving Megan standing alone in the street. As he disappeared into the shadows, Megan couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that she had just brushed against a force far more potent than the mysteries she sought to unravel. Resolute in her pursuit of answers, Megan returned to the Weiss residence. Annabelle, still consumed by the shadows of grief, greeted her with weary eyes. "Annabelle, I found something," Megan began, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and resolve. She recounted the tales of disappearances that had haunted Marshwood over the decades, the impossible appearances of Ezra throughout the town's history, and the photograph that proved he hadn't aged in 60 years. Annabelle's eyes widened as Megan revealed the hidden history of the town. A shared understanding passed between them, a silent acknowledgement that the echoes of the past reverberated in the present. "And I found this," Megan said, producing the copied pages from the ancient journal. "A ritual, a way to trap and banish the entity." "I believe you, Annabelle," Megan declared. "Whatever is tormenting Marshwood, we will face it together. We must stop this evil from claiming more victims." As Annabelle's eyes locked with Megan's, an unspoken pact was sealed. Together, they stood on the brink of confronting a darkness that had fed on their town for generations. Chapter 8. Confrontation. As the girls prepared to confront the unknown evil, Annabelle's cottage was transformed into the chosen battleground where the timeless conflict between light and darkness would meet. In the center of the attic, a circle of candles flickered, casting a spectral glow that contorted the walls into sinister shapes. The air crackled with tension as Annabelle, guided by the ancient incantations Megan had discovered, began weaving the spell that would beckon the unseen towards them. As the darkness approached, it took shape, a tortured figure with eyes that mirrored the abyss. The girls, undaunted by the grotesque specter, watched as the shape shifted and writhed within the confines of the protective circle they had created. "Annabelle Weiss, you have not the power to hold me." A voice both guttural and ethereal resonated through the cottage. "I am the secret of Marshwood, its ancient curse. You cannot confine me." But Annabelle, her voice unwavering, continued the incantation. The attic pulsed with an unearthly energy as the ring of candles blazed brighter, dragging the entity further into their realm. Megan, her eyes fixed on the shadowy form, watched in dread as it transformed into a hauntingly familiar form, the visage of Ezra. The girls, unmoved by the deceptive transformation, stood resolute. "You cannot destroy me, for I am the very fabric of this place," Ezra declared. "Release me, and I can bestow upon you power beyond your wildest dreams." Annabelle, her eyes piercing the dark entity, responded with unwavering conviction. "You are not a part of Marshwood. You are a parasite, a blight on this town, and your reign ends now." Megan, her violin clutched tightly, began to play a haunting melody, a tune all too familiar to the creature. It was the piece of music that she and Hannah had composed together. The same performance piece that had brought such joy and unity to the town during the school concert. Ensnared within the circle of candles, Ezra convulsed in agony. "You will not manipulate us with false promises," Megan declared as she continued playing her violin with untold defiance. "Marshwood deserves to be free from your clutches." As the final notes of the haunting melody echoed, Ezra, stripped of its deceptive forms, dissolved like shadows vanishing from the dawn. The circle of candles extinguished, plunging the attic into an eerie silence. Marshwood, once shrouded by an ancient curse, stood at the precipice of a new beginning. The attic now bore the aftermath of the confrontation. Only a burnt husk remained, as a testament to Annabelle and Megan's triumph. As the girls embraced, the relief of victory coursing through their veins, an unsettling sound emanated from the dark remnants. A low, guttural whisper clawed its way into their consciousness, sending shivers down their spines. Still linked in their embrace, the girls turned towards the whisper as it grew louder, forming words that seemed to resonate through the room. "I am a part of Marshwood. You cannot truly destroy me. I will linger in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to return." The girls watched as the shell disintegrated into a fine dust that dispersed into the air. An eerie silence settled for a moment, but was suddenly pierced by a strange, otherworldly sound that at first terrified them. "What is that?" Megan asked, her voice quivering. Annabelle, her eyes scanning the dissipating remnants, hesitated before responding. "I don't know, but it doesn't feel right." The noise intensified, transforming into something inexplicably familiar. Amidst the fading whispers, a form slowly materialized. A strange azure glow surrounded it, and as the remaining particles continued to dissipate, the figure became clearer. "Hannah," Annabelle uttered, her face etched with disbelief. The burnt shell, now almost gone, gradually revealed a figure, a spectral silhouette that bore an uncanny resemblance to Hannah. The whispers, still present, shaped words, and the girls strained to hear. "Mum? Megan? Is that you?" The voice, undeniably Hannah's, resonated from within the extinguished circle. Annabelle and Megan exchanged bewildered glances. The fear that had gripped them moments ago transformed into a cautious hope. "Hannah, is it really you?" Megan asked hesitantly. "Yes, it's me." Hannah's voice was faint, disoriented. I don't know how long I was gone. Everything was so dark, cold, empty. I could hear you sometimes, Mum. Your voice felt so far away, but I held on. I knew you'd find a way. In a burst of radiant light, the spectral silhouette solidified into a tangible form. Before them stood Hannah, no longer a mere apparition, but a living, breathing reality. The girls, overcome with joy, rushed to embrace her. "Hannah," Annabelle whispered, her eyes brimming with tears. Megan now bore witness to the miraculous reunion of a mother and daughter. As dawn painted the town in hues of gold, Annabelle, Megan, and Hannah descended from the attic. The secrets that had long haunted Marshwood were now dispersed like morning mist. Epilogue. Lingering. Marshwood, bathed in the dappled light of a fading sunset, appeared to have weathered the storm. The Weiss family, their bonds strengthened by the crucible of darkness, found solace in the embrace of their quiet town. As winter approached, a new family arrived, drawn to Marshwood's charm. The Forrester family, with eager smiles and boxes in tow, began the process of settling into their new home. An old, imposing structure that once belonged to Ezra. Mrs. Agnes Harper, an elderly woman with an air of timeless wisdom, lived adjacent to the Forrester house. She watched from her window as the family unloaded their belongings, a mixture of curiosity and a knowing glint in her eyes. A few days later, Mrs. Harper, carrying a freshly baked pie, visited the Forrester home, a kindly gesture to welcome them to Marshwood. The air was thick with anticipation as the Forrester family greeted her at the door. "Welcome to Marshwood. I thought you might enjoy a little homemade treat," Mrs. Harper said, her voice echoing an over-enthusiastic warmth as she offered assistance and insights into the town's dynamics. "It's not every day we see new faces in Marshwood," she said quietly. "You've picked a rather interesting time to arrive, I must say. But don't you worry, you'll find your way around just fine. Marshwood Public School is a fine choice for the children. I know you will like it here. Oh, it has its secrets, of course, as any place does. But secrets are what give a town character, don't you think?" As the couple graciously accepted the gift, the old woman lingered for a moment, her gaze penetrating past the newcomers, as though unraveling concealed secrets that only she could discern. The door closed behind Mrs. Harper, leaving the Forrester family standing in their new home, blissfully ignorant of the ominous encounter they had just experienced, or the unseen forces that whispered in the mist-covered town of Marshwood.